Okay, so the operation to begin this is breaking up these pallets so that we can use this wood for the top surface of the table. I've already split the ends of these nails, and I'm using this Sawzall, which goes right in between the wood and the 2x4 member, and makes it cutting through almost like butter. So I'll just give a quick demonstration, but this I've found to be the easiest way to break these pallets apart. So I'm going to do it as a demonstration right now. And so what it cuts off those nails, and then our next operation is just to punch the head of the nail through the board and take it out, and then we've got a clean board to work with.
So what you saw my husband doing over there is using the Sawzall in order to break apart pallets. And once they're broken apart, we pound out the remaining nails, and they're used to fill our tables. And yeah. So this is how we get the nails out of the board. You can take that little punch and hit the end of it, and they cut out the other side. That's good, Joseph.
What I'm doing is routing an edge on this 2x4 in order for the top boards to sit into the table. Okay, so what we've done is set up this jig so it gives a resting place for the router, and then also a back here. So when the 2x4 is set in, and this has already been routed, the ledge here, which is half the distance of the 2x4 here. So this is about 3/4 of an inch deep, 11/16 inch in depth, and then 3/4 width. And so it was clamped in like that.
And you can hear our son in the background. He's out here having fun too.
And the router goes in, and you can see that this is a 3/4 inch diameter router set to 11/16 inch depth. And when it's set in there, then the action of the route is done.
Okay, and this was pretty cool for me to see, because really what this did was provide a border for the router by having this board here, like my husband described. So it created a border for it, so it stayed on task and made a straight ledge. For those of you who don't understand the official words.
Okay, we're getting ready to cut the ends here. As you can see, we've got two long runners that have got the bench on it, and now we're getting ready to cut these. These are exactly 3 feet long for the 3-foot width. So you always want to work in a safe environment where you're not tripping over the woods that you're cutting and that. And so before I started working today, I've gone ahead and swept the whole area and put it in the trash. Good thing to do so that you're not tripping on things. So this is going to go right on the end like that. And I'm going to cut another one. And if I'm cutting it, then I'm going to drill 3 screws in and also glue it to give it the rigidity that it's going to need when the table's put together. Okay, now we're getting ready to assemble this framework, and I'm going to put 3 screws into each end. I'm going to use a pilot drill first so that I don't split this wood here, and then also too so I can get the screws in without it moving around. So I'm just going to line it up pretty much by hand here, and I want to get into the meat of this without getting into the meat of the ledge, because if I get into the meat of that ledge, it's possible that the screw I put in through here is going to conflict with the screw that I put in here. So I'm going to want to screw into the meat of this wood. I'm going to go through the middle first. Okay. I said I wanted to pilot so I didn't split this wood, but also I don't want to split this wood either. So that's why I put in the pilot, and I stop about here. So I've gone all the way through this board and then a little bit into this one so that I have a place to put that screw. You see you're doing that, it actually caused it to get unsquared. I'm going to put this one in, and the other 2, I'm going to want to make sure that this is definitely squared. And we'll get to that in a bit. But this really is like foundational to the assembly of the structure. As you can see, it's not square, but we're going to want to bring that in square. So this goes right in at a 90-degree angle. Okay, next is I'm going to put some glue then, right here. I can get it squeezed out.
Can you hear the football game in the background?
Okay. There have to be some edits there. Okay, now I'm going to put this up next to each other. I'm going to grab my 3-inch screw. And these 3-inch screws is what's called a T20 driver. And I'm using these screws because they're exterior and good for decking, but I also like the T20 because it's less likely to slip as I'm screwing it in than if I'm using just a plain Phillips head type screw. So I found the little pilot hole that I put in there. And that's it. Okay, so I've cut the legs so that the top surface will be exactly 30 inches from the ground to the top of the surface. So the legs are 29 and 5/16 inch long. And then what I've done is clamp them there and then level them out. Made sure that they were level.
show you that. Okay.
And then I've put a drill through a spade drill, which is this drill. I've drilled it out 5/16 inches, and then I'll use this spade drill to be able to then the head of the nut, or the bolt rather, in there. So when I put a washer here and push it through, it'll be flush with the edge. And then I'll do that for each of the 4 sides. What I'm using is a 5/16 diameter bolt, and putting it through that hole with a washer on this end, and then a washer and a lock washer, and then a nut. Okay, and you can see that in there. And then I use a box wrench and a ratchet and to tighten it up. I'll just make it snug for now, and then when I'm done, I'm going to be hacksawing off that little spot right there so no one gets caught on the edge of the bolt. Okay, we have all of the legs on now. You notice that there's 2 2x4s here. You could use a 4x4 instead, but because we're using the unreclaimed wood from Pallets, we have 2x4s, and we're just piecing them together. And then what I'm doing is screwing them together to give them just a little more rigidity, and also to close the gap here. And what I've used is a clamp right here to close that gap, so I can just run the screw in, and then that will tighten them all, and I'll be doing that for all 4 of them. Okay, so what we've done now is lined up these boards across and fitted them so that it'll fit the lengthwise. And then what we'll do is come through, and doesn't need a really fine measurement. What we want to do is just cut it off right at where the mark is, or yeah, where the mark is, but where it's come into the shelf. So I made a little tick mark there, and I'll come across with a square. Make a line for it then to be cut off with a saw. And we'll do that throughout the whole of them so that they can get screwed in. Okay, so what you see here is the boards that are laying onto the top boards onto the table, and they're sunk into that shelf. And then we took 2 number 10 driver screws and drilled them and sunk them into the table, countersunk them, so that then we could sand it smooth and get ready for the finish. Okay, now that we got the boards all in, we're going to use an electric sander with a medium and then a fine grit, and smooth out these boards so that they can get ready for staining, which you'll see in the next pictures. This is a smooth board, and we didn't really make it like perfect. We just smoothed it out so that when it became a tabletop, that it was going to be good for the exterior use that they are. Okay, now the table's getting ready for its stain, and we're going to use a walnut stain. I'll let my wife explain that.
Right now we are sealing the table and the legs, and I'm using this indoor-outdoor. It's semi-gloss. I didn't want it super shiny. And this says it protects it from sunlight, rain and moisture, and temperature changes. So, Lord willing, this will keep it all sealed from the elements. We'll probably have to redo it occasionally. if you can see the difference on this video, but I think you can. This is the unsealed, and look how pretty the sealed wood looks with the seal. I'm really happy about that. So I'm gonna keep going and get this table finished.
Okay, this is the final assembly of the table. We noticed that there was going to be some flex down the length of it, so we put a 2x2 support underneath those boards and then used a number 10 driver. The length of the support was 8 foot by 2x2, and we had our son then taped down through the center so we knew exactly to where to put the screws. Next picture you'll show that's what he's doing right there, and he's pretty happy about all the work that he helped us with.
So we built 4 of these tables, and our goal was to have them done by Thanksgiving, and as you can see, we made it. 25 of our family and friends joined us.